Aletsch Glacier stretches over 23 kilometers, the largest ice stream in the Alps, and one of the planet's few high-altitude glaciers still flowing above 4,000 meters. Do you know that the Matterhorn's horn-like summit sits at the meeting point of three cantons, and that its impossibly sharp profile was carved during a rare interval when tectonic uplift outpaced glacial erosion? Beneath Zurich's gleaming modern skyline lies an old town whose cobblestone lanes and painted facades have survived since Roman times. This compact historic heart, known as Altstadt, shelters centuries of hidden stories in every church bell, bakery window, and carved doorway. The twin towers of Grossmünster, where legend says a single sermon sparked the Swiss Reformation, echoing through streets that still debate faith, art, and commerce. Street names whisper of past trades: goldsmiths, coopers, millers, and each corner can flip from tourist map to neighborhood secret if you slow your pace. For those who follow the old town's rhythm, every turn becomes an invitation to linger, to meet a bookseller, an artist, or simply a local who will point you toward the best view. Keep walking toward the lake, and the city rewards curiosity with panoramic calm. Old Town's bustle dissolves into promenades where history and leisure merge. Interlaken sits between two glacial lakes, Thun and Brienz, and acts as the Alpine gateway to the Jungfrau region. Its narrow valley layout funnels views of snow-capped peaks into postcard-perfect frames that change with the light. Dozens of paragliders lift off from nearby hills, tracing bright shapes against the mountains and landing on the manicured meadows by the Aare. Hidden under that lively summer scene are centuries-old wood chalets, cobbled alleys, and a market culture that still smells of cheese and fresh bread. A short train ride carries you into Lauterbrunnen's Valley of Waterfalls, where plunging ribbons of water feed the lakes flanking Interlaken. From there, the Jungfrau Railway climbs toward Europe's high-altitude wonders, linking Interlaken's leisurely charm to glaciers and ice caves. Boat trips across Lake Brienz reveal turquoise water so clear that submerged trunks and stones are visible from the decks. On the opposite shore, the Giesbach Falls tumble beside a Belle Epoque hotel, creating a scene that blends wildness with genteel tourism. Culturally, Interlaken is a crossroads. Swiss German, French influences from nearby cantons, and a steady stream of travelers from Asia and the Americas. That mix shows in cafes serving rösti, beside matcha lattes, and in festivals where traditional Alphorn calls meet contemporary art installations. At dusk, the peaks behind Interlaken glow, rose and purple, and the town's promenades fill with storytellers, bakers, and musicians. Stick around long enough, and the next day a different mountain will have claimed the light, drawing visitors outward to new paths and neighboring villages. Interlaken doesn't hold you in place. It nudges you onward toward the Zermatt meadow, the trilling gullies of Grindelwald, and the silent grandeur of Eiger. Every connection is a gentle invitation to trade a familiar postcard view for an undiscovered corner of the Swiss Alps. The Matterhorn rises to 4,478 meters, its geometric pyramid, a rarity among the world's peaks. Do you know the Matterhorn summit is composed of ancient African continental rock thrust over Europe during continental collision? Its four sheer faces slice into the sky, each pointing roughly toward a cardinal direction, creating near-perfect symmetry. Climbers and scientists alike have been fascinated by this mountain's sculpted form for well over a century. Beneath that iconic silhouette, glaciers have carved deep cirques and left blue ice that feeds streams down into valleys. The mountain's shadow reshapes valleys at dawn, and its rock fall reshuffles roots, reminding visitors that it's still very much alive. Zermatt, the village at its feet, once banned combustion engines to protect Alpine air and preserve the mountain's fragile environment. But perhaps the strangest secret lies beneath the surface. The Matterhorn summit belongs geologically to Africa, not Europe. This mismatch tells a story of continents colliding, oceans connected, and mountains assembled like layered puzzles of time. Ski lifts and scientific instruments now share the slopes, measuring glacier retreat while offering access to breathtaking panoramas. Those instruments reveal that the Matterhorn's glaciers are shrinking, an urgent metric for climate patterns across the Alps. Yet despite change, the mountain remains a magnet for human imagination, a landmark that shapes local songs, menus, and festivals. As we leave this granite icon behind, the ridgelines point us toward nearby glaciers and the quiet highlands we will explore next. Swiss National Park is one of Europe's last expanses of alpine wilderness, and uniquely, the only national park in Switzerland, protected since 1940. Do you know Swiss National Park covers over 170 square kilometers of high-altitude terrain in the Engadine, where marked paths are the only human imprint allowed? No houses, no roads, no hunting. The park is managed to let ecosystems evolve without direct human interference, a rare experiment in large-scale conservation. It is here that ibex rebound stories are written, marmot colonies drum warnings across Alpine meadows, and golden eagles patrol the thermals above ancient rock facies. Walk the marked trails, and you traverse glacial cirques, fossil-rich strata lifted from ancient seas, and circling slopes carved by the last ice age. Beneath the wildlife are human traces, shepherd's trails, weathered cairns, and mountain lore about phantom wolves that guided generations across these high passes. Valtrupchen remains a magnet for wildlife watchers, where herds of ibex congregate at dusk, and the valley's silence measures the success of strict protection. Ongoing research tracks shifting tree lines and the slow return of species once rare in the high Alps, connecting local change to a broader European push to secure contiguous wild habitats. For anyone seeking to understand how an entire mountain ecosystem can be allowed to breathe and recover, Swiss National Park is a place where the planet's quiet experiments are visibly unfolding. Beneath the Matterhorn, Switzerland hosts a mountain whose summit carries rocks originally formed on the African continental plate. Do you know the Matterhorn summit is made of gneiss carried north during continental collisions, effectively making its peak a chunk of Africa perched over Europe? In Zermatt, the mountain doesn't just dominate the skyline. It reshapes weather, sunlight, and even the pattern of glaciers that cling to its flanks. Travelers who think they know Alpes' fine vistas are often surprised to find mirror-perfect Riffelssee, a small lake that reproduces the Matterhorn so it has its own cult of photographers. From Zermatt's car-free streets, the Gornergrat Railway climbs to panoramic terraces where the mountain reveals different faces with every turn of the light. A single ridge on the Matterhorn slices morning into afternoon in a way you can time by watching the shadows race down to the valley floor. The Zermatt Glacier above Zermatt makes year-round snowfields possible, and its crevasses hold stories of climbers and scientists alike. Klein Matterhorn's cable car delivers passengers to Europe's highest cable car station, where you can step into a glacier palace and touch ice that's centuries old. That glow pulls you from the Gorner Grot back down to Zermatt's hearths, linking high sky to the small artisan shops in its streets. In Zermatt, the mountain is not an object of distant admiration, but a presence woven into daily life, festivals, and even the town's diet. Every path and tram seems designed to offer a new secret view, encouraging you to keep moving up and deeper into the story of the Matterhorn. And when you finally stand at a ridge and look back at the jagged peak, you realize the mountain has changed how you count time and measure place or place. That realization is only the beginning of what Zermatt and the Matterhorn will teach you about scale, history, and the planet itself. High above the cobbled streets, Lake Lucerne in Switzerland spreads into fjord-like arms that slice against Alpine pine cliffs in a pattern almost unique among the world's lakes. Do you know that Lucerne's Kapellbrücke once acted as a fortified passage and still shelters painted panels that chronicle the city's medieval ceremonies and little-known scandals? Walking its timbered span leads into an old town of painted facades and secret courtyards where guild halls whisper the commerce and rivalry of centuries past. From there, the lake becomes an open stage. Paddle steamers trace paths, first charted before modern roads, carrying locals and travelers between sunlit villages and Alpine footpaths. Shoreline vineyards tumble toward the water in some places, while in others sheer rock plunges straight into crystalline depths, creating microclimates and rare habitats. Ferries glide past postcard hamlets like Weggis and Witznau, each stop offering a new perspective of mirrored peaks and secret coves only visible from the water. Head for the Rigi or Pilatus ridgelines, and the scenery snaps into dramatic relief, as summit views reveal the lake's intricate arms threading through ridges and valleys. Transport here stitches together steamers, cogwheel trains, and cable cars, so a single day can move you from calm lakeside promenades to knife-edge alpine trails. Beneath the surface, cold glacial inflows keep the water startlingly clear, inviting divers to explore submerged formations and historians to ponder lakeside relics. By evening, lanterns reflect on the rippled glass, church bells and cattle calls compose a rural urbanity, and the city seems to exhale a quiet contentment. Lucerne's blend of precise Swiss engineering and lingering medieval mystery makes it feel like a living museum, where modern comforts sit beside centuries-old stories. Yet it is the lake itself, its concealed bays, sudden mountain backdrops, and unusually varied shoreline that keeps pulling people back to discover new secrets each visit. Rhine Falls pours an average of 600 cubic meters of water per second over its limestone cliffs, making it Europe's most powerful waterfall by volume. The thunderous curtain stretches 150 meters across and drops about 23 meters into a churning basin below. Centuries ago, falling ice and glacial melt carved the rock formations that now channel the river in dramatic cascades. You can feel the spray on historic viewing platforms near the town of Neuhausen am Rheinfall, where stone stairways lead closer to the roar. Small ferries shuttle visitors to the central rock, a place once used by daring swimmers and now preserved for its dramatic viewpoint. Seasonal variations turn the scene from a gentle flow in winter to a ferocious torrent in late spring as Alpine snowmelt surges downstream. From here, the Rhine continues its journey to Schaffhausen and then on towards Lake Constance, linking this spectacle to a broader river narrative. Walkways and trails follow the riverbanks, guiding you from the falls toward pastoral vineyards and the castles that punctuate the Rhine's course. Local lore speaks of cunning fishermen and medieval millers who adapted to the river's moods, leaving stone remnants along the shore. Geologists, however, point to the imperceptible backward erosion that slowly reshapes the falls and hints at where the river might carve next. Beyond tourism, the Rhine's energy has long powered industry and inspired conservation efforts to balance human use with ecological health. Efforts to protect fish passages and river habitats have reconnected stretches of waterway that industry once fragmented. A short drive from the falls leads to Schaffhausen's Renaissance facades, a natural next stop that stitches cultural history to the river's geology. Travelers who follow the Rhine downstream will discover how the falls are not an endpoint, but the dramatic opening chapter of a living landscape. Stand on the viewing ledge, and you realize the scale of time and water that forged this place, and why the Rhine continues to shape communities along its banks. Every ripple, cliff, and castle tells a story that begins here and flows outward, inviting you to trace the river's path across borders and centuries. The Aletsch Glacier in the Swiss Alps is the largest continuous glacier in the Alps, stretching over 23 kilometers and holding ice layers that predate many modern nations. Do you know the Aletsch Glacier harbors ice cores that record climatic events going back tens of thousands of years, making it a frozen archive of our planet's past? This slow-moving river of ice carves deep moraines and scours bedrock, shaping landscapes that can be read like geological pages these days. From its crevassed surface rise nunataks, rocky peaks that pierce the ice like islands in a white sea, Scientists drilling into the Aletsch have pulled out dust, pollen, and trapped air that rewrite our understanding of climatic swings. Yet around its edges lives a surprising array of life: hardy plants and microbes adapted to the short, intense summer. In warmer months, meltwater carves tunnels and forms sapphire pools and cavernous ice formations that shift each season. Those waters feed rivers that irrigate vineyards and communities in the Valais, connecting high ice to everyday human life below. Protected as part of the Jungfrau Aletsch World Heritage Site, the region balances scientific study with conservation of fragile ecosystems. Still, protection cannot halt melting entirely, which is why researchers measure ice thickness, flow, and melt with drones and safety stakes. Local communities are adapting, redesigning water management and tourism to sustain livelihoods as the glacier changes diseases. Poets and painters find in its crevasses a stark metaphor for time, memory, and the slow workings of Earth processes. Following the Aletsch panorama naturally leads toward hanging glaciers and high passes that spill into the Valais valleys. From those passes, the story moves down to vineyards, thermal springs, and villages that rely on the glacier's meltwater each year. Tomorrow's climbers will inherit a landscape already transformed, where maps and memories must be rewritten. The Aletsch remains a lesson etched in ice, fragile, magnificent, and intimately connected to how we choose to live in the mountains. Lake Geneva is ringed by the UNESCO-listed Lavaux terraces, one of the world's few steep vineyard landscapes plunging to a freshwater lake. Do you know Lake Geneva's unusual Alpine Mediterranean microclimate allows palm trees and chestnuts to thrive beside glacial runoff? From the ice-sculpted mouths of the Rhone to the warm terraces of Lavaux, the lake stitches contrasting ecosystems into a single shoreline. Sailors and swans share the same glassy mornings, where the water can mirror both snow-capped peaks and palm-fringed promenades. Beneath the surface, currents driven by mountain melt sculpt, hidden fall banks, and sudden depth changes that surprise even seasoned sailors. Scientists monitor those movements closely because Lake Geneva's water balance affects everything from local wines to the migratory routes of freshwater fish. Walk the Lavaux at dusk and you will feel why UNESCO protected these slopes. The light bends across terraces like pages in a living atlas. And as night falls, tiny fishing boats become lanterns, tracing slow constellations along a lake that has stitched empires and poets together for centuries. Beneath the Matterhorn, Switzerland hosts a mountain whose summit carries rocks originally formed on the African continental plate. Do you know the Matterhorn's summit is made of gneiss carried north during continental collisions, effectively making its peak a chunk of Africa perched over Europe? In Zermatt, the mountain doesn't just dominate the skyline. It reshapes weather, sunlight, and even the pattern of glaciers that cling to its flanks. Travelers who think they know Alpes' fine vistas are often surprised to find mirror-perfect Riffelsee, a small lake that reproduces the Matterhorn so it has its own cult of photographers. From Zermatt's car-free streets, the Gornergrat Railway climbs to panoramic terraces where the mountain reveals different faces with every turn of the light. A single ridge on the Matterhorn slices morning into afternoon in a way you can time by watching the shadows race down to the valley floor. The Theodule Glacier above Zermatt makes year-round snowfields possible, and its crevasses hold stories of climbers and scientists alike. Klein Matterhorn's cable car delivers passengers to Europe's highest cable car station, where you can step into a glacier palace and touch ice that's centuries old. That glow pulls you from the Gornergrat back down to Zermatt's hearths, blinking high sky, to the small artisan shops in its streets. In Zermatt, the mountain is not an object of distant admiration, but a presence woven into daily life, festivals, and even the town's diet. Every path and tram seems designed to offer a new secret view, encouraging you to keep moving up and deeper into the story of the Matterhorn. And when you finally stand at a ridge and look back at the jagged peak, you realize the mountain has changed how you count time and measure place or place. That realization is only the beginning of what Zermatt and the Matterhorn will teach you about scale, history, and the planet itself. The Aletsch Glacier, the largest glacier in the Alps and a living archive of climate for centuries, stretches like a frozen river through deep mountain bones. Do you know that the water pouring from the Rhine Falls near Schaffhausen can be heard miles away and once powered mills that changed Europe's industry? From the emerald mirror of Lake Lucerne to the vertical castles of rock in Lauterbrunnen, Switzerland stitches dramatic landscapes into a single, walkable map. Follow the high railways to Jungfraujoch, and you will find the highest railway station in Europe, where glaciers meet blue ski and scientists sample air that tells of continents. Zermatt's Matterhorn pierces the skyline with an almost impossible symmetry, and its surrounding valleys hide Alpine flowers that bloom only on those meadows, nowhere else on Earth. From there, the silver threads of mountain streams lead down to terraces like Lavaux, where vines cling to the slopes and produce wines influenced by sun, slope, and lake in ways most vineyards can't match. Hidden beneath the mountains, the St. Beatus Caves hold a subterranean waterfall and chambers carved by centuries of water, connecting the surface legends to deep geological time. Drive the Grimsel and Furka passes, and the road itself becomes a story, linking hydroelectric reservoirs that made modern Swiss energy to villages that kept traditions alive. In the Swiss National Park, species survive at the edge of their ranges, showing how climate and conservation dance together in an Alpine laboratory. Then there are small, lesser-known miracles. Bioluminescent plankton in quiet lakes after summer nights, isolated peat bogs preserving millennia of pollen, and alpine shepherds who still move their herds by bell and tradition. All these places, glacier, waterfall, peak, terrace, cave, and pasture, are threaded by trains, trails, and the quiet human choices that balance tourism with stewardship. As we close this journey, we'll return to those choices and the surprising ways Swiss communities are shaping the future of these fragile wonders. What you leave with is not just pictures of peaks, but a sense that every valley holds a secret, and every secret asks a simple question: how will we keep them alive? Stay with us as we look at the people, the science, and the small daily acts that might secure these landscapes for another century.